Good evening and welcome to the overnight edition of From Day One. Without further ado, the final section of Art Battle with Blanche Barton, the High Priestess of the Church of Satan.
There are definitely consequences for the actions that you take. As far as getting back to your idea about meditation and consciousness, yes, definitely. Strengthening your own mind, strengthening your body, being able to use yoga and strengthening the energies that flow through us. I personally am a great follower of that, and I think a lot of Satanists are, that we're bioelectrical beings. And if we can concentrate that, again, that's what magic is about, is concentrating our energies, aligning ourselves with our true core, and being able to release, bring in energy from around us and release it appropriately.
Okay, well, if so, as I've listened to the interview, you think there is something to karma, but if there isn't, there is a spell that'll take care of it, right?
Yeah, we take care of that.
Yeah, all right.
We're sort of the cleanup team.
He also asked about reincarnation.
I have, again, my mind is open to reincarnation, quite frankly.
Really?
Because personally, I have had some interesting experiences along those lines. Like you with the Ouija board, I don't need to go into them. But my mind is open to a lot of things. Like Lewis Carroll said, I try to believe 3 unbelievable things before breakfast,
Wow, your mind is open to reincarnation. That's a path unto itself. All right, here's something Donnie sends on the computer. Donnie and Sedalia, ask your guest about Anton LaVey's deathbed confession and accepting Jesus Christ on his deathbed. It's all over YouTube and the internet. So if the Church of Satan, if this is true, the Church of Satan is bunk.
Well, there you go. I am here to tell you that I was present in those final moments, and there was no deathbed confession. There was no hallelujah. I see it all now. There was no, oh my God, please forgive me. He had become more determined and more committed to his philosophy as he grew older, because he saw the way that the world was going, and he knew that he needed to be a voice for that.
Okay. So, Terry, somewhere out there, you're on the air with Blanche. Where are you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Where are you?
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, no, you're on the wrong line then. That's our international line, my friend.
I did Skype.
Right. I'm very sorry. You'll have to give us a call at MITD51. MITD51 for North America. You are on 55. Let's try Lewis on North American Skype. Hello, Lewis.
Good evening. My questions are not judgmental, but just factual. Is the Church of Satan recognized by the federal government for a tax exemption? And I'm curious if they're convicted of a crime and they're put in prison, do they get any special treatment? And finally, would she call herself a witch? I missed that if she said so. Those are my questions.
That's a lot of questions. Hold on. Don't go away.
Sure.
Let's get answers.
Okay, the first question, yes, we are recognized as a religious entity by the United States government. We're included in the Chaplain's Guide to Military, to chaplains servicing military people, and that's updated periodically. However, we do not take advantage of our tax-exempt status, because one of our vital premises, is that all churches should be taxed appropriately like any other business. So as an ethical point, we do pay taxes. The second question was...
In some sense, it's probably answered by the first. That is, if necessary, if you were put in jail, for example, you would get special treatment in terms of accommodating your practices. It sounds like if you're in the first, you're probably in the second. I don't know that as a fact.
We do have prisoners who contact us who say they're having trouble getting materials, and they do try to provide it depends on the chaplain at the particular prison and the administrators of the particular prison. Some of them are very open. They should have the right to practice Satanism, at least get together with fellow Satanists and have their materials and perhaps rituals within the confines of the requirements of the prison. They can't have daggers and they can't have firearms. They can't have candles or certain things. But, just getting together to read the Satanic Bible, usually most prisons are very accommodating. And yes, I would call myself a witch. I do.
Well, thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Right, sure. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. We have so many. Let's go to way back to West Virginia.
In jail.
Hello.
Yes.
You're on the air, sir.
Art, we've been talking about a lot of positive things about Satanism, but let's talk about satanic ritual abuse for a second.
Okay, let's.
In the 80s especially, there was a lot of cases dealing, we mentioned the government-related daycares and the military bases daycares. There was a lot of children that came out of there with STDs. And we were talking about the military, and, while we're talking about Satanism, while we're talking about the military, let's bring up,
Well, all right, let's deal with one at a time. One at a time, all right?
Yeah, of course.
Satanic ritual abuse of children. That was addressed earlier, but Blanche, go ahead.
Yes, the McMartin preschool case, I believe one of the cases that he's referring to, was one of the most expensive and perhaps to date still the most expensive and extensive court case in California history. A lot of accusations were thrown around, including that the kids were moved during the rituals, that there were that some of them said they'd been put naked into a cage with a lion, and Chuck Norris was identified as one of their molesters. They said that they had their faces smeared with feces and blood and urine, and that they'd seen babies cooked and eaten. No. And backhoes were brought in, heavy machinery was brought in. All of this was supposed to have taken place in tunnels beneath the preschool by the people that were running the preschool. No tunnels were found, no lions were found. The most damning evidence that was found was toy rabbit ears and a candle. And I know that there was a lot of hysteria, but there were a lot of people going on shows to get attention. But it was I
remember this, sir, don't you? I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. But, I want to go deeper than that. Let's go deeper. There's I've studied a lot into occultism. There is power. And, even going back to, that's why anal sex, analingus.
All right, there is power in what? There is power in what? Abuse?
There's power in the blood, the blood of children, the blood of ritual human sacrifice.
Let's find out. And
right. Cannibalism.
Sure, hold on. Let's find out. Thank you for the call. That's a pretty key point, I think, to address. He's saying there is power in abuse or in sacrifices or in... What about it, Blanche? Is there anything to it?
Well, this, again, was addressed quite keenly in the Satanic Bible, and I think it was a reaction to what Anton LaVey found with practitioners, or at least legends about practitioners of magic up until that point. And he was disgusted by the idea that someone would take an innocent animal. Even Aleister Crowley talked about animal sacrifice, and that someone would take an innocent animal and shed its blood to try to get some kind of power from that animal, when the truth of the matter is it's a substitute for a good orgasm. If you can't go into the ritual chamber and have a good orgasm, work yourself up into a real frenzy and let go of all that energy, let go of all your inhibitions, and become a real human being in the ritual chamber, you have no business trying to perform magic at all.
Okay, straight on. So that was all ridiculous.
Well, it was proven by the FBI to be ridiculous. A lot of people, a lot of police Cops for Christ is what they were termed, who had these seminars that they were selling to various police forces around the country to try to gain money from them. There were also a lot of counselors, religious or otherwise, that were getting a lot of money. And there were the talk show people who needed eccentric people to go on their shows and make a good controversial story. So everyone was gaining except the real Satanists, who would try to go on these shows to get another word in edgewise. They didn't give me the kind of time that you've been kind enough to give me, Mr. Bell. When we would get on, if we would even get on to tell what Satanism was really about, we'd get maybe 2 sentences, and the rest of the show would all be about baby breeders or a lot of insanity. Yeah. So we didn't fit the paradigm. And then they tried to, as a defense for that, they said, well, they didn't want to get sued by us. So they'd say, well, we're not talking about you. We're talking about bad Satanists. We're talking about traditional Satanists. Or they tried to make it into categories. And Anton LaVey said, no, there are Satanists and then there are nuts. Just like there are Christians and then there are nuts. You can use the Easter Bunny, you can use Jesus, you can use Buddha to justify whatever crimes you want, but that doesn't mean that you're actually following that religious philosophy.
All right. Very quickly, Leonard on Skype. You're on the air with Blanche.
Yeah, I call to disagree with Blanche. She said that God makes you do what He wants, or do His will. No, God gives you freedom of choice. You can make your own choice. God doesn't force you to do what He wants you to do.
Well, He threatens you.
No,
He threatens you with eternal damnation and a fiery pit if you don't follow the rules, right?
He doesn't.
Oh, He doesn't.
Actually, He does.
I've heard the wrong stories then.
Satan is what makes you do things that makes you do things.
Well,
so in other words, anything you do that's bad, you can just sort of slough that off on Satan.
And that's the problem with scapegoating. That's the essence of what we're trying to get across here, is that when you scapegoat people, like some people are doing in the Middle East right now, then you can go do whatever you want to them, and they don't deserve your empathy, they don't deserve your sympathy, because they are unclean, and they are demonic, and they are possessed, and they are evil. So you can hurt them, and you can demonize them, and you can scapegoat them, and do whatever you want to them, because they are the others. That's very dangerous thinking. It's not an us versus them. I'm a human being, you're a human being, Leonard, and we all have foibles, we all have faults, we all have strengths. All right. And we have to get together to find out how to solve problems.
All right, good. Hold it right there. We'll be right back. I'm Art Bell. This is Midnight in the Desert.
Coming to you at the speed of light in the darkness, this is Midnight in the Desert with Art Bell. Now, here's Art.
Coming to you indeed at the speed of light. Listen very quickly. Let me give the numbers, even though everything's full. The public number is 952-225-5278. 952-225-5278. The Skype doorways are in North America, Canada, America, MITD 51. MITD 51. Outside of North America, MITD 55. That's MITD 55. Blanche Barton is my guest, and she was the High Priestess of the Church of Satan and is the Chair Mistress of the Council of Nine. Welcome back. A couple of computer messages for you. Dan says she dodged the question. It was about harming children, not animals. Blanche?
Again, it's addressed in the Satanic Bible very clearly, and I think I've said earlier in this interview that we value children as our guides. They're the closest to their natural state. They haven't been inculcated with adults' guilts and all the things that children are saddled with from a very early age in contemporary society. I love to interact with children, and we would not harm any children, and that's very clearly stated in the Satanic Bible.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Calvin asks or says, "Hi, your guest is very well spoken and charming. Would you like to comment on the Church of Satan trying to sue the state of Oklahoma to put up a statue at the Capitol? It seemed to me to be an attack on Christianity."
That is not the Church of Satan. That is an unaffiliated small group that we consider rather laughable. They came off as sort of street performers. They're trying to put some kind of wedge between. They're trying to create controversy regarding the church and state. Like, if they try to put this statue in, then that'll force other people out of the public square. The true satanic posture, as articulated very well by our high priest, is that we believe in the founding fathers' vision of separation of church and state.
Yes.
Not having any Buddhist or Hindu or Satanic or Wiccan or Christian association, because it's very dangerous when church and state are work in concert. Then you've got the civil aspects and you've got the magical aspects of the boogeymen that are going to hurt you if you don't do right. And our founding fathers were as close as they could be to deists. Most of the ones who were the real movers and shakers, Thomas Jefferson and Paine, they were deists, and they didn't believe in a God having real effect in your life. Of course, in those days you had to posture toward Christianity a lot, but they were free thinkers. I think that America is a quintessentially satanic country. We grew right out of the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, and people like James Madison, John Adams. That's a whole different conversation. But
nevertheless, the founding fathers saw the danger of mixing it and wrote it out.
Precisely.
Okay, Terry, somewhere or another, you're on the air with Blanche Barton.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
And I wanted to say it's an honor to talk to both of you.
Thank you.
I became a member of the Church of Satan in the early 1990s, and I was brought up going to Southern Baptist Church and the youth groups, and they pounded, the Satanic Bible is the ultimate, evil book and all this. So eventually I read the Satanic Bible, and it was like getting cold water, thrown in your face. It was like, it's just reason and logic and open-mindedness when it comes into the areas of the supernatural and magic. And so that's kind of what my take was. I became a member. I knew they weren't going to pound down my door and have me go to meetings and all this, just out of respect for the logic that was put down and given, to where I saw my ideals on page, and it was like awesome.
Nobody pounded down your door, I take it.
No. I have two questions real quick. One for the Blanche. Are you familiar with the studies on the pineal gland in the human brain, like essentially the third eye and like DMT, the release of DMT, and how that kind of, I believe, goes in with magic and all that? And then also in your personal magical experiences, do you, like for me, sometimes, I feel real strong, and then it's like I feel weak sometimes in magical nature. And I don't think it's like because I'm physically sick or I'm going through emotional stress, just like those waves of power and energy. Like, have you had that experience there? That's all.
All right. Number 2 first, then we'll hit DMT. Blanche?
Yes, things do come in waves. I think the wave has been proven to be essential to the earth in general. There's a waxing and a waning that humans are also aligned with, and within your own magical practice, it's very probable that some days, and again, this has been measured scientifically. Some days you feel alert and on top of things and right on top of your game, and then other days you just feel sort of dissipated and not really concentrating. So yes, and I have heard about the pineal gland and how that's it's a known chakra. They're very powerful ones. So, there have been a lot of people throughout the millennia who have talked about the third eye and its importance to magic and meditation.
Okay. Drugs and Satanism. He mentioned DMT. There are many who feel that drugs open the mind in a way, and surely they do. What do you think? What does the church think?
I can only refer back again to Anton LaVey. Of course, he started the Church of Satan in the 60s in San Francisco. 1966, the Summer of Love. There were people dropping acid all over the place, and there were people that were pointing to acid as a method, a gateway to wonderful enlightenment and concentration and new worlds and new achievements. And he had a hard and fast rule that he did not allow people that were drunk or high in the ritual chamber.
Really?
Because things could be very misconstrued. People could become violent. They could become distracted and distracting. And he felt that, that was not the way to perform magic, that you need to be concentrated. You need to be clear on your intent and what you're doing in the ritual chamber. So I suppose there are plenty of people that use recreational drugs, but again, if you're doing it illegally, then you have to suffer the consequences if you get caught. And if we know about it, then you'll probably get kicked out of the organization.
My goodness. All right. Let's go to Calgary, Alberta. On the phone. Hello. Wait a minute. I didn't press the right button. Calgary, Alberta.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Nick from Calgary. I know you're probably super tired of fielding questions about satanic ritual abuse, but I have one from kind of a weird angle. That's okay?
Let's hear it.
Okay, in the wake of the death of Jimmy Savile, this British TV presenter and entertainer, it's come out that in Britain, at least, there actually was a massive pedophile conspiracy in the 1980s and late 70s. But it wasn't Satanists.
Well, God, heaven knows there's pedophiles all over the world, sir. But
yeah, but it's conservatives, and at this point, the investigation has gone so far as to implicate former prime ministers.
And your point is?
Well, my point is, my question is, how do you respond to the moral hypocrisy? Because, again, these are the same people who wanted to ban gay people from teaching, who wanted to exclude non-Christian religions, from public venues. And at the same time, it's now coming out that this
alleged
bizarre...
Yes. There's hypocrisy all over the world. I mean, my goodness. I just wonder if there's any comment on, the fact that, again, these are, the squarest of the squares. These are... there's no end to the height of hypocrisy. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, when he started talking about a massive pedophile ring, I thought he was talking about the events in the Catholic Church, and I'm not kidding, because they were moved around and protected, and that was a terrible breach of trust.
That's undeniable, absolutely undeniable. I don't know how the church ultimately is going to deal with it, but
right. But I won't give it a cheap shot. I mean, it was terrible. It was an awful thing. But I don't then equate, all of Christianity with pedophiles. These were individuals that unfortunately were protected by a structure that didn't want the embarrassment, and a lot of children suffered abominably because they wanted to protect their structure. But they've had to look at that now, and they've had to own up to it and act appropriately. As for the conservatives, a pedophile ring, I would have to know the specifics. I know they would have to. I don't think that it's associated with Satanism, is it?
No. That isn't what he was saying. And I was saying there's no end. He was talking about conservatives, and then some of them being outed as pedophiles, and there is no end to that kind of hypocrisy.
Right.
Let's go to Skype.
And of course, we're against hypocrisy. That's one of the reasons that the Church of Satan was founded, because of that hypocrisy.
Helix Angel, is that right on Skype?
Yes, actually, my name is Paula. I'm
Okay.
from Richards, California.
Okay, well, that's what's on your Skype. That's all I can do is call you by what's on Skype.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. Thank you for your enlightening discussion tonight.
Sure.
I'm actually interested in that, and that I do have a question though. Why do you consider? I have a number of friends that are Wiccans, and why do you consider them to not practice magic properly?
Well, if they're practicing magic and they're and it's working for them, my only beef with Wiccans, well, two beefs really, is one, they worship a horned god, and if you're worshiping a horned god, I don't see why you don't just call it Satan. You know, I mean, you can call it Pan, you can call it Lucifer because it's more comfortable for you, but just grow a pair and call it Satan. You know,
I'm just asking this because I was talking to one of them at the moment, and it was like, did you just say that? But yeah, thank you.
And the other point is that during the Satanic Panic, a lot of Wiccans were asked, well, what about Satanists? What do they do bad things? Or they were attacked. They were thrown into the same boiling pot of water with Satanists in these accusations. And instead of coming forward and saying, yes, I'm a Wiccan, I've read about Satanism, I know Satanists, and they don't do bad things, instead, a lot of them actually crawled on the bandwagon to protect themselves and said, oh, we're good witches, but those people over there, I don't know what they're doing. So I was front and center to that.
Evil.
That was a long time ago, granted. But there's still an essence of us versus them, good versus evil in there, whereas I say, don't put yourself in a protective circle, invite your demons in, own what you are as a human being and deal with that.
All right.
Hi, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.
Well, thank you
for calling. Interesting, very interesting, actually. Going to, I think, Allentown on the phone. Hi.
Hi, it's Johnny from Pennsylvania. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Am I on the air?
Oh, you certainly are.
I apologize. I have one question and a hi, Blanche. I have a question and an example. So the question is, you talk a lot about the human intelligence and how we're the better, smarter animals now. We're the more vicious animals, and the next step of evolution, that's why we're the top of the chain. So the question is, can you conceive of an intelligence greater than man's intelligence that would require man to have faith? And the example that I would use is Abraham from the Bible, who waited 100 years to have his son. And then when he has a son, God tells him, take him up on the mountain and sacrifice him, which seems crazy to us. I mean, I'd have a really hard time with that. But then if you look at it 2,000 years later, God allows his own son to be sacrificed for a greater cause. So can you see that that's possible? Not necessarily right or wrong, just that there might be something.
Well, God did request that or order that as a proof of faith, right?
Yeah, it's faith. This is really faith against intelligence. Mm-hmm. Faith seems irrational, and it's always going to. But that doesn't mean it is. That doesn't mean it's wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I get your point. The first thing I'd like to address is the idea that I feel that humans are top of the food chain and more highly evolved than other animals. I think the point that I was trying to make and that Anton LaVey has made with the seventh satanic statement that I read is that because we quote unquote feel that we are so divine and spiritual and intellectual, we have become the most vicious animal of all, meaning that other animals are being the best animals that they are being. Humans don't always live up to their potential. They throw a lot of log jams in their own way. They're more afraid of their own success than they are of their own failure. But humans, like a simple spider or a bird, they're out there doing their birdie little things. They're doing the best they possibly can, and they use every resource that they can. They go toward pleasure, they avoid pain, and they do it in the most efficient manner they can, which is what biologists define life as, is, those three elements. And so don't think that I'm saying that humans are so superb and wonderful compared to other animals, because I truly don't. But getting to your point with faith, as a Satanist, I feel that faith is the ultimate betrayal of all we are as humans. I understand your point about sort of giving yourself over to a greater power and trusting in that power, but I can't do that. I can't relinquish that. If I do that, if I give up my independence, my discernment, if I give up the ability to question things scientifically and challenge everything, I've given up everything that we've evolved to be over the last, few million years.
And I can certainly understand that, especially now in this day and age, we know so much as humans. We have, and if certain visions of reality can be believed, we have plunged into materialism and are cut off from what we used to be able to see as spirit.
Sorry, and I'm sorry to do this, caller, but I'm way short on time, and you can respond to that when we get back, but we've got to take a very brief break. So, Blanche, hold on. What a show is what I would say. What a program. I suspect not what you thought it would be. Blanche Barton is my guest. I'm Art Bell.
Wanna take a ride? Your conductor, Art Bell, will punch your ticket when you call 1-952-CALL-ART. That's 1-952-225-5278.
All right, well, I think we should all have a moment of silence. Tonight's show has got to be pretty serious evidence that JC has passed away. If not, he certainly would have been here. He's been absent from his Facebook page since before mid-July. And so, just a moment of silence for he who would have been here. He could have been. And with that, back to Blanche Barton. And Blanche, I held this caller over because I don't think he was finishing his thought. Caller?
I was saying we've plunged into materialism. It's very difficult now without prophets and things like that, real prophets to show us what God's really saying, to have any kind of faith, and really all we have left is the light of human reason. Albert Pike talks about it in his Freemasonic writings as something we don't need to have superstition about or faith. And that's absolutely true. We don't. But it's not, for me, it's not enough. And I guess the real question is, I think the question goes out to everybody. Do you believe in your own intellect, or man's intellect, or do you believe in God, or faith, or whatever or Christ, whatever you want to call it? I think there's something greater than man. It's hard for me to imagine that there's not.
Blanche, you want to comment?
Well, I'm a big advocate of materialism. What we can see, what we can feel, the human body, the human brain, our emotions. I'm a big believer in the sins, and I try to practice at least one a day. Lust and gluttony are two of my favorites. But not to be flippant. I understand. He seems like a very sincere man, Johnny, and I feel that there is a lot of materialism going on in the world as well, and we're sacrificing happiness in a certain way because of it. And recently I was at a conclave, a gathering in Washington, D.C. of Satanists at the end of April, and I gave a little talk. And one of the things, it was a wonderful gathering with terrific people there from many different professions, and it was great to be in a room full of people that you don't have to explain your basic thoughts to, who are all attuned with what we were thinking. But there is a difference between greed and satisfaction. And what we're doing to the earth is a consequence of unbridled greed and not looking down the road to see the consequences of what we're doing. And that is a real problem. But again, that doesn't come from somebody, Satan or some demons or some God whispering in my ear. That comes from looking around and seeing what's happening to our planet and crying about it. And wanting to do something about it. So.
All right. Trey in Atlanta, Georgia, I think. Hi.
Hey, Art. How you doing?
Very well. Thank you.
I wanted to first extend our love to Ann and Whitley.
Yes. Very sad.
And Blanche, it's an honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
I was curious. I had just watched Devil's Reign that Anton had been in.
Yes.
And I was wondering
Classic.
if you could tell us about his experiences with Ken Anger and Hollywood.
Yes, he had a wonderful relationship with Kenneth Anger. Kenneth Anger was in the 60s San Francisco scene very much, and he's an innovative filmmaker. He used techniques that were sort of, I guess, in the psychedelic realm, but they're very effective films. And I know he has a lot of fans to this day. He influenced a lot of small films, and they were very good friends. I think he's sort of drifted away since Dr. LaVey has passed. He's gone in other directions. But yes, they were very good friends for a long time. The Devil's Reign was a wonderful set to work on. Dr. LaVey said he had a wonderful time. William Shatner, John Travolta, the director was a great director. They were in Mexico filming, and he did lots of interviews with people who were interested in his philosophy. And yes, Ida Lupino was also on that cast.
Wow.
And he made some good friends, and they had a whopping good time.
I would also point out we had just coincidentally watched Paradise Lost, the childhood murders at Robin Hood Hills tonight. And for all the satanic panic people that still don't get how bad this paranoia was, watch that movie and realize what this madness caused and how it's ruined lives.
A lot of pain. And one element of it also that I didn't bring up is the separation. I mean, it's hard enough for teenage kids to talk to their parents and parents to talk to their kids. But when you've got this film between you of people from your church or people in authority telling you to look for your children, see if they're wearing black clothes, or if they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, or if they have stained glass, or if they're spending too much time alone, they may be dabbling in Satanism, and this may be leading them to criminal activities. How can you possibly communicate with your child when you're burning the records that are giving him strength and inspiration? So it did cause a lot of pain for a lot of people, a lot of wounds there.
Well, thank you both. It's been an honor.
Yeah,
Right.
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. A lot of actually very interesting callers tonight, and I hate to do this, but we're coming up on another break, so relax for a few moments. We'll come back and take a final full set of calls. My guest is Blanche Barton. She is High Priestess, or was, of the Church of Satan, and is now Chair Mistress of the Council of Nine.
Midnight in the Desert, exclusively on the Dark Matter Digital Network with Art Bell. Invite you to call now, 1-952-CALL ART. That's 1-952-225-5278.
I think it's the job of long-form talk radio to examine things that, well, frankly, you didn't know about. And I think tonight is a perfect example of that. Alana from, it doesn't say where she's from, actually, through the wormhole, asks, please ask Blanche if there are any satanic holidays and what do they celebrate and how?
That's a great question, actually. I should have brought that up myself. True to our to our egotistic philosophy, our favorite holiday of the year is, of course, my own birthday. That's what I celebrate, and all my friends celebrate it and tell me how wonderful I am and and give me lots of support. After that, we have Walpurgisnacht, which is a traditional magical night. A lot of important things have happened on Walpurgisnacht, including the founding of the Church of Satan in 1966. And then after that, we like to celebrate depending on, what your particular likes and dislikes are. But most of us acknowledge at least the equinoxes and the solstices and other dates that are particularly important to us, whatever our context is.
On this most important holiday for you, do you go out and buy yourself something really cool and expensive?
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
And usually very tasty.
Yeah. John, you're on with Blanche. Hi. Skype.
Hello, Art, and hello, Blanche. How are you guys doing?
Fine.
Good.
Great. Okay, Blanche, I wanted to ask you that my understanding was that after the passing of Anton LaVey, that there was a kind of a schism in the Church of Satan between, like, Michael Aquino and Anton LaVey's daughters, Zena and the other girl. And I was wondering if you could give me some information on that, and maybe tell me if you yourself were involved, or if you knew anything about how the whole thing played out.
Okay. Was there a schism?
No, there wasn't any schism. That's sort of one of those ideas, I guess, like Anton LaVey's deathbed confession or something. But it was really rather uneventful. I'd been acting in the capacity of High Priestess. I took over as High Priestess. I continued the philosophy until I passed the reins to Peter Gilmore, who is our present High Priest and doing a wonderful job of that. He has published a wonderful collection of essays called the Satanic Scriptures, and I would, for further information about Satanism, I would definitely point people in that direction. And Peggy Nadramia is our High Priestess. I think one of the keys to our survival after Dr. LaVey passed away has been the continuity that we've had. The people that are behind the organization that are articulating and clarifying his philosophy are absolutely in concert and have a deep and abiding understanding of all the aspects of what he put together in the philosophy of Satanism. As I say, both the rational and the poetic sides, and the carny sides, and the robust black capes and black candles side.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Technology broke just a second. And now we return.
Going to the phones, you're on the air with Blanche. Hi.
Hi, Art. Hi, Blanche. My name is Dean, and I'm been in San Francisco my whole life, and I lived out in the Avenue, so I knew about the house out there, the black house out on California Street. Blanche, the last caller kind of touched on what I was going to talk about. The 60s, from what I see, you're a little bit younger than me. And in the 60s, I was about 19 or 20 in the late 60s. And there were so many charismatic people like Anton. There's no doubt that he had a big ego. There's no doubt that he drew a lot of people around him. I picked up hitchhiking a couple of Satanists up on Mount Tam one time whose car had broken down. So I guess my question is, I know Carla. Not super well, but I dated her back when we were both 19, and I beg to differ. I heard that there was quite of a schism. The house ended up being boarded up. Why if there's so much power in Satanism, why all this bad blood, and why are you guys fighting among each other, and why did everything go south?
Well, as I say, I don't believe it did go south. I believe I've been trying to explain that we are alive and well, and that we're continuing to move forward in our philosophy. Carla and Zena, neither one were involved directly with the administrative side of the organization at the time of their father's death. Zena had, if you want to get into the messy details of it, it's not messy on my part, but it's rather embarrassing for her that she chose to disown her father years before his death and never reconciled with him. Carla had reconciled with him. They'd been off and on. She had been involved in her life, and she'd had periods of separation from her dad, but she did reconcile with him toward the end of his life. But, neither one of them were qualified to be in a leadership position within the organization, and I don't think their father ever expected them to be. Carla had done some spokesperson roles in the early days, and she was comfortable with that, I suppose. But there wasn't. We're all cohesive, and we're moving forward with articulating what Satanism is and can be.
Well, I understand that she puts on this, what she calls Black Christmas every year, and I'm not clear. Maybe you could clear that up. I thought that Anton and Carla and Zena were all Jewish faith before this all started, and before he went in Life magazine and posed and got tight with Hollywood, Is that true?
No, that's not true. He was never, certainly Zena and Carla never got any inculcation into the Jewish faith, and as far as Dr. LaVey's inculcation, his mother told him that God is nature. That's all it is. And she didn't go any further than that. I think ethnically, he had ethnic background as being of a Jewish background, but he never practiced and he was never attracted to that. He was never brought up in that faith at all.
All right, not a lot of time. Jeremy, you're on with Blanche, huh?
Hey, Art, how you doing?
Just great. Where are you?
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And I'm actually the guy that emailed you at your other email address.
Thank you.
No problem. I have two quick questions for Blanche. So according to your reviews, I'm not going to say consequences, but what are the non-benefits of not following the church's beliefs?
What are the non-benefits of not, you mean if you're an actual member or if you're just an adherent to the satanic philosophy?
If you're adherent to the philosophy of the church.
Well, you mean like if you actually commit the sin of stupidity?
What I'm saying is if you don't follow the belief system that the church promotes, what are the non-benefits of that?
Well, you don't get things the way you want them, and your life doesn't work very well. That's the consequences. This is a philosophy that advocates lesser magic and greater magic to move you forward in your life and find satisfaction and have a great party. It's your party, and it's the only one you get, as far as we know. So if you're not having a good time and you're not being successful, then you're the one that's responsible for that.
Well, you did allude to the possibility of reincarnation.
That's my own personal belief. That's not Church of Satan policy. Okay. That's my own speculation and romantic ideas.
Okay. And the other question is, it seems like you guys are kind of borrowing the number 666 from Babylonian astrology. Is that true?
I don't think 666 ever came up in this conversation. It's not particularly interesting to me, other than that it interests other people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I'm reading on your website, so what you're saying tonight is quite different from what I'm reading on your all's website.
You're reading the Church of Satan website.
Correct. Yes, it's like you're trying to promote a materialistic intellectualism, but from what I'm reading on the website, it's quite a different story. So I'm trying to find out little bits and pieces of what your thought was in terms of that specific number according to the church.
All right, that's a good question.
Website. You better check again.
That's what I was going to ask. Does your official website, what is it, please, again, Blanche?
churchofsatan.com.
That's where I'm at, yeah.
And you're seeing things about embracing the 666 over there?
Yeah, it says the 666 is considered a shorthand signal heralding diabolism. Yeah.
That makes sense, Blanche?
Well, we do use the sign of the horns. Anton LaVey is giving the sign of the horns on the back of the Satanic Bible. And that, of course, has been adopted by a lot of rockers. But the 666 really doesn't have a big reference point for me or most Satanists, except for the amusement that other people seem to really give it a lot of potency.
They do. You guys are based out of New York, right? The administration office?
Yes.
Okay, because your P.O. box is even 666.
Oh, yes, that's true.
No.
Yes, that's fun. Yes,
that's what I was asking. I mean, there's a few references to that number, so.
Yeah, it sounds like they're more having fun with it than anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I see your point. Yes, we do have a 666 box, and I have a 666 box for my newsletter as well. And it was available, and why not take it? Just because other people seem to think it's so important. It's kind of a wink, just a wink.
Towards the Book of Daniel is what it's a link towards. Babylonian astrology.
It's a wink.
If you wanted to link to that, sir, then it links to that. I guess people, make up their own links. I don't know. Indio, California, on the phone. You're on with Blanche. Hello.
Hello, Art. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Listen, everything that I'm hearing from her is pretty much the opposite of what I experienced. In the late 60s, Anton was on a daytime talk show, and they said, "Oh, we're having a witches meeting tonight," and blah, blah, blah. And so my girlfriend calls me, and she goes, "Oh, let's go." So we went.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked up to this house in San Francisco, walked up the stairs, and this lady answered the door in black. I mean, it was dark. It was spooky. And here's a stuffed leopard by the door, not her, panther. And
no, it was a leopard. I think you're right.
Pardon me?
She knows. She said leopard.
Oh, it was. Okay. So we went into this meeting. It was a witches meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never experienced anything like that. I felt as Anton was very captivating. I mean, I can see why people were drawn to him. He was just magnetic. Sat in this big chair like the king, and with this, I remember this brass thing above his head on the wall, I guess, or something. And big fireplace, but the witch, it was a witches meeting, and then they got into how the witches were talking about how they had put spells on somebody and such happened to them, and it was like he was going, "Oh, good," When I left there, I felt like I'd been to the Addams Family house. It was.
It must have made quite an impression on you if you remember it this many years later.
Oh my God, I'll never forget it. I mean, it was.
Well, I think he accomplished his goal then.
Yeah, apparently. All right, well, listen, thank you very much. That was interesting. She did obviously remember it very clearly. Somewhere in California. Hello, you're on the air. Not a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm calling from Hawaii.
Hawaii?
And actually, yeah. Art, I'm so glad you're back. You make my night so good.
Thank you.
But anyway, with your guest, I find it very interesting that she's avoiding the fact that this man that you're saying did such good things is doing the work of Satan. And, I mean, we all know that his biggest trick is to convince you that he doesn't exist. So,
Well, I would have to say that what she has said is consistent with that.
That he doesn't exist.
Well, more or less, right. If you listen to the interview, she basically said that.
Well, one last thing. I did grow up in San Francisco, and I remember as a kid having to go by that spooky house and run by it, and all the kids and stuff. And I heard that some neighbors disappeared after complaining about his pet lion in the backyard. Is that true?
Yes, they did. There was a film actually called Satanus, and it's wonderful. It's kind of hard to find, but if you find it, there were interviews with the neighbors and talking about seeing the lion and the weird rituals through the front windows, and they all seemed quite captivated by it. But yes, there were complaints about the lion, and he had to give Togar to the zoo, and it was heartbreaking for him because they were very close.
And those neighbors then disappeared?
Various things happened to them. I think there were some medical issues. Some of them moved away, as neighbors tend to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Barbara, you're on the air with Blanche. Hello, Barbara.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, but you sound very hollow. So, Barbara, listen to me. Barbara. Hello, Barbara. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you sound like you're in a hollow tunnel, so you're going to have to find the microphone on your computer and get really close to it. Or
Really close. Can you hear this?
no, look for the little tiny hole. It's the laptop. It has a little hole there, and you got to get right up to that.
How about this?
Now you're cooking. That's much better.
Okay. What is the policy of the Church of Satan regarding the afterlife?
Okay.
Our policy is that we don't know, that there's not, enough evidence to prove that there is an afterlife. And since we can only assume that there is not, it's better to err in the direction that there is not and get the most out of every breath that you have right now, today, here and now, because you don't know what's afterwards and you don't know when it'll end.
I see. So
pretty clear.
Then you don't believe that Anton is anywhere right now?
I believe that he's
represented
represented in a lot of people who respect his philosophy, and that if we have any hope of immortality, perhaps that's all we get. I'm not sure that there's any entity that survives, any consciousness that survives.
All right.
I could be wrong. I'm open to suggestions,
sure.
And I'd love that to be true, but I don't have enough evidence to believe that right now.
All right. We are at the end of the program. I just have no more time. I wish I did. It just flew by. Blanche Barton, thank you so very much. If people want to know more, you would recommend they go where?
To churchofsatan.com. That's a wonderful portal for a lot of information there, and even about 666 and what that means to us.
So it does have a meaning.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
It's whatever meaning one wants to give it. That's what it's all about.
Carefully stated. Blanche, it has been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for being out here, Art. We really appreciate you being out again on the air.
Take care.
Take care.
Well, there you have it. As I just said, I feel that the job of long-form talk radio is to look into things that others don't look into. That's what we do here. Sometimes you tune in, sometimes you tune out. For the world's time zones, I'm Art Bell. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you, Art, very much. We appreciate it. Sometimes the topics are a little controversial, but we're not going to share away from them, as Art did not during his life and his work as well. As you notice, we are on the Kraken still, as I had to get over here for a Guild War battle. And actually, it's good to show a few things. If you want to see more Guild War information, we can make special episodes on that. I also am thinking of releasing Box-a-Palooza, a series of short-form videos opening a whole shit ton of chests. Is, I guess, the best way to refer to it. As I do have a good shit ton of chests available. While I'm waiting for Nexters to, get us up to the guild circle, as always, please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. Get us to the goal of 50,000 views, 1,000 subscribers. So Boxy over Nexters sends those nice red boxes we can send out to you all as lovely gifts. And that Google YouTube actually starts promoting us on the tubes. Coinbase and Ibotta and Game.gg are all there. Coinbase and Ibotta, sign up, get your $10 free. Game will get you your first 100 credits free. From there, of course, Coinbase Earn 2-minute lessons, 1-question quizzes to get up to $100 in free crypto. Ibotta rewards you what you normally have to do anyway, and that's shopping. And Game.gg will pay you regardless if you want to go ahead and view videos, go websites, fill out surveys, download apps to your iPhone or Android device, whatever you like to do, and we'll pay in PayPal, crypto, or gift cards to anywhere you'd want to have. Let me show some of the chests that I'm referring to. We have currently over 350 of the Honorable Guardian boxes, 442 of the Lore Seeker bags. I'm not going to worry about the mandrakes. 120 Platinum boxes, 104 Artifact chest boxes, 48 Leper Kitties, 122 Nature boxes, all 7 party boxes that you saw opened on the other server this morning. If you'd like to see us do some of those kind of episodes, let us know. Either get down in the comments or at GCHeroWars@gmail.com. Alrighty, I'm going to go and get a hold of the Guild War mates so we can start today's battle. As always, wish you to have a great evening. Enjoy your good night's rest. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another. As again, in the world, if we were all kind, there wouldn't be wars and all of the other great situations that would happen if you have to war here in Dominion. So, we'll see you tomorrow as we continue to rock along here from day one. Have a great night, and again, enjoy your good night's rest. See you tomorrow.